Hello, welcome back to Jen's Books. How are you doing? Hope you have some fantastic plans for this weekend. As I mentioned in my previous video, it is my birthday this week. So instead of asking people to buy me books because no one wants to buy me books, they're all too scared because they don't know what I've already got or that I'm going to judge them on their book choices, I decided to buy my own birthday book treats, and I've also been to the library as well. So I thought I'd share with you my reading or the books I've added to my TBR for the next coming month or so, although some of them obviously I'm probably going to be reading for some time afterwards. But first of all, 3 books from the library. The first one is Claire Keegan's Antarctica. This is a collection of short stories. Claire Keegan you'll know from Small Things Like These, which was shortlisted for the book of last year, and also Foster, which I talked about in a previous video. She's just an absolutely amazing writer, and she started off with short stories, and I've got high hopes for this collection. I also have her other collection of short stories, which is Walk the Blue Fields, so I'm looking forward to reading this. But this is her debut volume of short stories, and the blurb, there isn't a whole lot on there, is that an exciting first book of deliberate contemplative short stories. The aesthetic is always the appeal to the palpability of language itself, which I've seen before in Claire's writing. There's a real attention to detail with the prose. Every single word counts with her writing, and I think that often comes from poets or short story writers who then go on to write novels or novellas, because every single word has to count in a short story or in a poem. And I think that is often reflected in her writing, so I'm looking forward to reading that collection. Secondly, a thriller, Claire Mackintosh, The Last Party. I picked that up in the library and I've made a little bit of a start on that one already. The blurb says, on New Year's Eve, Reese Lloyd has a house full of guests. His lakeside holiday homes are a success, and he's generously invited the village to drink champagne with their wealthy new neighbours. This will be the party to end all parties, but not everyone is there to celebrate. By midnight, Reese will be floating dead in the freezing waters of the lake. On New Year's Day, DC Fionn Morgan has a village full of suspects. So good old murder mystery there. So I'm looking forward to reading that. I do like to throw in some thrillers and good page turners. Just completely immersive, enjoyable reading. Next, The Bandit Queens, and this is by Perini Schroff. This was longlisted for the Women's Prize for fiction for 2023. Didn't make it through to the shortlist, but I saw it in the library and I'd heard good things about it, so I picked it up. I'm over halfway through this already, so I will be reviewing this in a video coming up. Really funny, really enjoying it, much more actually than I thought I was going to. I'd heard some really positive stuff, but also some mixed stuff, and no, I'm really enjoying this so far, but I don't want to give too much away about it. The blurb is, Geeta is believed to have killed her vanished husband, a rumour she hasn't bothered trying to correct, because a reputation like that can keep a single woman safe in rural India. But when she's approached for help in ridding another wife of her abusive, drunk of her husband, her reluctant agreement sets in motion a chain of events that will change the lives of all the women in the village. And it's just really funny. So far it's made me chortle, and it takes quite a lot for a book to make me chortle, but this one's managed it. So already can recommend, but I've not finished it yet, so I'll let you know when I do. We've got one of the, how can I resist this? Night Bitch by Rachel Yoder. I could not resist the title, you know, how could I not? The blurb on this one is, one day the mother was a mother, but then one night she was quite suddenly something else. At home, full-time with a 2-year-old son, an artist finds she's struggling. She is lonely and exhausted. Her husband, always travelling for work, calls her from faraway hotel rooms. One more toddler bedtime and she fears she might lose her mind. I expect a lot of parents could identify with that. Instead, she starts gaining things, surprising things that happen one night when her child will not sleep. New appetites, new instincts, and from deep within her, a new voice. So really looking forward to reading that. I don't know a whole lot about it, but I get the impression it's probably going to have some magic realism sort of touches to it, but I don't know much more than that, but how could I resist? It would have been rude not to. Next is a book by a colleague of mine. It's called Owl Song at Dawn by Emma Claire Sweeney. Again, it's not a book I know a lot about. I've been doing quite a lot of research recently into Morecambe though, and this book is based in Morecambe, so I thought it's a bit of a no-brainer. I'll give it a go. So the blurb says, Maeve Maloney is a force to be reckoned with. Despite nearing 80, she keeps Seaview Lodge just as her parents did during Morecambe's 1950s heyday. But now only her employees and regular guests recognise the tenderness and heartbreak hidden beneath her spikiness. So the character already, I find, you know, very intriguing. Until that is Vincent shows up. Vincent is the last person Maeve wants to see. He's the only man alive to have known her twin sister Edie. The nightingale to Maeve's crow, the dawn to Maeve's dusk, Edie would have set her sights on the stage, all things being equal, but from birth things never were. If only Maeve could confront the secret past she shares with Vincent, she might finally see what it means to love and be loved, a lesson that her exuberant yet inexplicable twin may have been trying to teach her all along. So that sounds interesting, and particularly for me, obviously with my research, the setting of Morecambe and 1950s heyday as well, that sounds really good. So I'm looking forward to reading that, and it's got owl in the title, so also a plus for me. Next, a collection of horror stories called Haunted by Chuck, and I'm sorry, I'm going to pronounce this terribly wrong, Palahniuk. Not very good with pronunciations, you might have picked up on that, but this has come up on quite a few must-read horror lists, so it's one that I wanted to give away. It's actually a novel, but it's a novel made up of stories. 23 of the most horrifying, hilarious, mind-blowing, stomach-churning tales you'll ever encounter. I've said it once, I'll say it again, I'll be the judge of that. They are told by the people who have answered an ad headlined Artist Retreat, abandon your life for 3 months. They are led to believe that they will leave behind the distractions of real life that are keeping them from creating the masterpiece that is in them. But here turns out to be a cavernous and ornate old theatre where they are utterly isolated from the outside world. Well, I love the idea of the setting as well from that. So I've heard that this is quite a scary one. So I'm looking forward to reading that. I might even save this one for slightly later in the year when the nights start drawing back in again. But that's another on the list. Those of you who follow the channel, and if you don't follow the channel, do please like and subscribe and come along for the ride. But you will know if you do follow the channel that I love books about mountains and about mountaineering. And I picked up yet another one, which is After the Wind, Tragic on Everest, One Survivor's Story. And it's by Lou Kazik. Lou was one of the survivors of the 1996 disaster on Mount Everest. It says on the back, I'm close to the top, out of time, but I can do this. That's when it happened. A veil force overpowered me. The sound of the wind vanished. Everything went quiet. I jammed my ice axe like a stake into the snow. I gripped tight with both hands as I buckled to my knees. The snow silently swirled around me, seemingly in slow motion. All I could hear was my pounding heart. After the wind, I listened to the sound of sheer silence. What I heard saved my life. I thought I'd read practically every book about the 1996 events, but I haven't read this one yet, so really looking forward to reading it. And I do like a bit of memoir amongst all the fiction that I'm reading. I like to get a bit of a mix in there. So that's another little treat. And next we have Meg Wollitzer's The Wife, and I think this was a book that Jen Campbell recommended on her YouTube channel, so thank you, Jen. Picking up another one of her, she's never far wrong with her recommendations, so I'm looking forward to reading this one. And by looking at the blurb of this, it reminds me a bit of Vladimir, but whether or not it would be anything like that, I don't know. So it says, a husband, a wife, their secret. Joe and Joan Castleman are en route to Helsinki. Joe is thinking about the prestigious literary prize he will receive, and Joan is plotting how to leave him. For too long, Joan has played the role of supportive wife, turning a blind eye to his misdemeanours, subjugating her own talents and quietly being the keystone of his success. The Wife is an acerbic and astonishing take on a marriage and the truth that lies behind compromises, dedication and promise inherent in marriages, that there so often lies a secret. So that sounds intriguing, quite a quick read. Don't know anything else about it other than that, but Jen recommended it, so I'm going to give it a go. Next is a book that I've wanted to read for ages, actually, and it's There by Tommy Orange. It's one that I've been looking for ages, but I managed to pick it up secondhand. So now was the time I wanted to actually get to grips with it. It says Jackie Redfeather is newly sober and hoping to reconnect with her estranged family. That's why she is there. Dean is there because he has been collecting stories to honour his uncle's death, while Edwin is looking for his true father, and Opal came to watch her boy Orville dance. All of them are connected by bonds they may not yet understand. All of them are there for the celebration that is the big Oakland powwow. But Tony Loman is also there, and Tony has come to the powwow with darker intentions. I've heard so much about this book. It's about a Native Americans, and my understanding is each character, each chapter is from the perspective of a different character as it leads up to this event that brings them all together. But I've heard so many good things about this. I'm actually really excited that I was able to pick this one up. And Margaret Atwood says it's astonishing. So what more do you want for a recommendation? I'd be really interesting to know if anybody's already read this one and what your thoughts are. But it's one, as I say, that's been on my list for ages. So looking forward to reading that one. Next, we've got a collection of poetry, The Home Child by Liz Berry. And I've read a few of her collections before. She's a really cracking poet. So I'm really looking forward to reading this one. Home's not a place, you must believe this, but one who names you and means beloved. In 1908, Eliza Showell, 12 years old and newly orphaned, boards a ship that will carry her from the slums of the Black Country to rural Nova Scotia. Miss Berry's written quite a lot about the Black Country. She will never return to Britain or see her family again. She is a home child, one of the thousands of British children sent to Canada to work as indentured farm labourers and domestic servants. In Nova Scotia, Eliza's world becomes a place where ordinary things are transfigured into treasures. A red ribbon, the feel of a foal's mane, the sound of her name on someone else's lips. With nothing to call her own, the wild beauty of Cape Breton is the only solace Eliza has, until another home child, a boy, comes to the farm and changes everything. And this is inspired by the true story of Liz Berry's great aunt, and as I say, is told through a series of poems in different forms. So I'm really excited about that one. As I say, I think I've read every collection she's brought out before. So looking forward to reading that one. So many good books, not enough time. The next one is 84 Charing Cross Road by Helen Hanth. I think this may have been another recommendation by Jen. I think I might be right. This book is the very simple story of the love affair between Miss Helen Hanth of New York and Mrs. Mark & Co., sellers of rare and second-hand books at Charing Cross Road, London. It is an unmitigated delight from cover to cover. So I think it's a bit of a romantic story. It's told through the form of letters, and there's a picture of Anthony Hopkins on the back, so it's clearly been a film at some point as well. So yeah, looking forward to reading that. It looks like it'll be quite a quick read as well. So there's that one. I've also treated myself to a few new books amongst these as well. One of which is The Hike by Lucy Clark, another thriller. I've read quite a few of Lucy's books and have enjoyed those. So I picked this one up. I'm just trying to think which ones I've read. The Castaways I've read, and one of the girls I read, which I really enjoyed, and I actually reviewed one of the girls in a previous video. So it says, the perfect day for a hike. Leaving behind their everyday lives, 4 friends hike out into the beautiful Norwegian wild. Nothing between them and the mountain peak but forest, sea and sharp blue sky. I love really isolated locations for thrillers. That just always makes me want to read them straight away. It says, the perfect place to disappear. But there's a darker side to the wilderness. A woman went missing here 1 year ago, scarring the mountain with suspicion and unanswered questions. Now the friends are hiking into the heart of the mystery, and waiting on the trail is someone who'd do anything to keep their secrets buried and to stop the group walking away alive. So really excited about that one again. There are certain thriller writers that I buy every year when they bring books out, and Lucy Clark is one of them. So yeah, looking forward to that. And as I say, anything where it's isolated locations, there's a mountain on the cover, it's going to be good. It's going to be good, I'm sure. Another collection of poetry, Peter Davidson's Arctic Elegies. The reason I picked this one up is because I'm writing poetry about place at the moment for my PhD, so I thought this one might be of interest. The blurb says, there is the mighty book of Norths, northern geographies, histories, lights, a place of definition, frost and cold. And it's about an isolated cold place. So, you know, there is an unfaltering spirit about these poems, a survival through defeat and a sense of underlying permanency. Each poem has an occasion. Some of the occasions are personal meetings, conversations which unlock shared scenes and themes. Some are historical in origin, their past often one of the early Christian faith or religious conflict. The poems abound in art, in specific lived detail, particulars of landscape, and in a harsh weather, which is not unlike time itself in its effect on the living and ageing imagination. So I'm really looking forward to reading this. I don't think it's just about Antarctica. I think it's just about locations that are linked to the north as more of a general theme. So looking forward to reading that and hoping that that's going to be helpful in my research as well. Another new one. I read and reviewed earlier in the year Tender is the Flesh, which is a dystopian novel where humanity has turned to breeding people as heads for food, for meat. And it was just a really interesting book. It's not my favourite book that I've ever read, but it really made me think, and it was a real page turner. It wasn't perfect, but I really enjoyed it. And as a result of that, I had to buy Augustina Bazarica's follow-up to that, which is 19 Claws and a Blackbird, which is a collection of short stories. So I'm quite excited to read these after reading you know, that novel on my Kindle. It will be interesting to see what else she can do. So it says, in these tense macabre stories, bodies fall from the sky, perfect nails conceal grisly secrets, and violence pulses behind gleaming facades. I'm expecting that it's not going to hold the punches, this one. It might be quite gory. From nightmarish visions to obsessive relationships, acclaimed author Augustina Bazarica takes us to the dark heart of human desires and fears. Shocking, brutal, yet glinting with sharp humour, 19 Claws and a Blackbird is a breathtaking dive into human monstrousness from a master of contemporary horror. So yeah, again, I'm so excited. There's so many of these books that I've picked up in the last month that I'm really excited about. Happy birthday to me indeed. So looking forward to that. Another memoir, one that I can't remember where I came across this actually. I think I came across it online in an article, but it's called This Is Not a Pity Memoir, and it's by Abby Morgan. It's not one I know a huge amount about other than the premise. So it says, an ordinary day, the end of an ordinary life. One morning in June, Abby had her to-do list, drop the kids to school, get coffee and go to work. Jacob had a bad headache, so she added pick-up steroids. She returned home and found the man she loved and had fought and laughed with for 20 years lying on the bathroom floor, and nothing would ever be the same again. But this is not a pity memoir. It's about meeting your person and crazed late night Google trawls. It's about the things you wished you'd said to the person that matters, then wildly oversharing with a barista who doesn't know you at all. It's about sushi and the wrong shoes and the moments you want to shout cut. It's about the silence of being lost in space and the importance of family and parties and noise. It's the difference between surviving and living. It's a reminder that even in the worst times, there is light ahead. It's a love story. That just sounds fabulous to me. And I think the concept, and I could be wrong here, but I think the concept is that Abby's husband was in a coma. Then he came out of the coma. But when he came out of the coma, he had no recollection of who she was. And I think it's their journey, you know, from that happening. So really awful. I can't even imagine going through that situation. But from reading the blurb, I think there's also going to be quite a lot in here about hope and about joy and about love and about moving forward. So looking forward to reading that one as well. And I do, as I say, like to mix it up with some memoir. Next is a book that arrived in the post for me today. Couldn't resist this one. Julia Bart's The Writing Retreat. So another thriller. Loads of thrillers this month. 5 attendees are selected for a month-long writing retreat. I don't know why it appealed to me. At the remote estate of Rosa Vallo, the controversial high priestess of feminist horror, Alex, a struggling writer, is thrilled. Upon arriving, they discover they must complete an entire novel from scratch, and the best one will receive a 7-figure publishing deal. Alex's long-extinguished dream now seems within reach, but then the women begin to die. So it's a thriller. It's in an isolated location. It's a writer's retreat. I love a good writer's retreat. I've never been to one where we've been picked off one by one. But funnily enough, I was at a writer's retreat last year with some ladies, and we were sat around talking about how it would be an amazing location for a thriller. And there you go, someone must have been listening. So I'm looking forward to reading that. I've also picked up The Death of a Bookseller on my Kindle, which for similar reasons, because it's about books, it's one that I've wanted to read for a while. So I've got a few books on my Kindle that I've picked up that I will share alongside with my recommendations and reviews in the next month or so. And the final book is by the winner of the Costa Novel Award in 2021. It's The Memory of Animals by Claire Fuller. I was intrigued by this one straight away. I was lucky enough to get a side copy, and it's got an octopus in there as well, which is also fantastic. But the premise is Neffy is a young woman running away from grief and guilt and the one big mistake that has derailed her career. When she answers the call to volunteer in a controlled vaccine trial, it offers her a way to pay off her many debts and perhaps to make up for the past. But when the London streets below her window fall silent and all external communications cease, only Neffy and 4 other volunteers remain in the unit. With food running out and a growing sense that the strangers she is with may be holding back secrets, Neffy has questions that no one can answer. Does safety lie inside or beyond the unit? And who or what is out there? And it's called The Memory of Animals, and the title intrigued me on that, but it's clearly a sort of an apocalyptic virus novel. And although I'm kind of getting to my fill of Corona-inspired fiction, I think this is going to be a really good one. I've already opened the beginning and it drew me in straight away. I think it's Our Endless Numbered Days, which I haven't read, but is the book that won one of the Costa. So really looking forward to reading that as well. So as you can see, you know, lots and lots of fantastic books to read, and the pile is getting higher and higher. So I am going to need to spend less time buying books and more time reading them. So I'm hoping to get through stacks of these and tell you what I think as I'm working towards my 100 books for 2023, which I'm going to smash. Not that I'm smug, it will be fine. But in the meantime, if you do want to come along for the journey, do please like and subscribe. I'm always happy to hear your thoughts on books that I'm talking about that you read, or books that you think I should read. It doesn't matter if we disagree, that's absolutely fine. That's going to happen sometimes. So let me know your thoughts, and if there are particular videos you'd like me to do or particular genres you'd like me to cover, again, let me know. But it's been lovely talking to you again, and I will speak to you again soon. Take care. Bye.